Hello? Testing? Testing, testing. Can you hear anything?
Can you hear anything? Oh, there it is.
There's a delay?
Yeah, there's a delay, but it's like no, do you have a set delay or
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just trying to
like
get
YouTube live program?
um
What? Yeah, someone's talking in the chat by the way.
someone said testing, testing. That's very funny.
Yeah, but I can hear you. It sounds good.
Okay,
It's
that's
just
great.
You got this.
Thank you, Mom. No, sorry, I'm like
But you're
video.
live.
Yeah.
You're
Sorry,
live
I'm sorry,
streaming. Don't
sorry.
need to. You got this.
Thank you.
Oh, people are joining?
Yes, Mom.
You stop saying mom.
Yeah, your mic is still on.
Okay,
Hot mic.
I'm gonna turn off the mic and give me 5 minutes.
Good luck. Let us know how it goes.
Thank you. Love you. Bye. Oh, can you guys close the door when you're
I
out?
will, of course.
Thank you.
Wait for public to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun. Enjoy.
Thank
She's
you.
got a lot of great things to say.
I'm so sad. Hello everyone. Um, Happy August 15th. I hope you're all doing well. I also hope that you all can hear me. And there's this is my first time doing a live stream. Well, not technically the first. Danny of Daniful, who leads the convention, was incredibly nice to help me test out how to stream. So I guess this is technically my third time, but my first time actually, with an audience. Um, oh my God, everybody's responding. This is so odd. I'm sorry. So hello. So I am going to start the presentation. Hi, my name is Gabrielle Bertrand, and this is my panel pitching a musical theater adaptation of the Kagerou Project. Um, so just so introducing myself. I'm a recent graduate of American University in Washington, D.C. I majored in public policy, minored in African and diaspora studies, and basically did a minor in academic research at my university. You can see here that is not a theater degree. That I've always loved theater recreationally, but I never really pursued it professionally. But as you can see through my resume, basically my performing arts resume, I'm a theater kid. I've done recreational theater during my times in college and in high school. Specifically for college, I was part of the student-led theater troupe called AU Rude Mechanicals, which does classic plays and Shakespeare. And I was a costume manager for Faustus last winter, and I was the assistant costume designer and that year, the year prior in fall 2023. And I also had a small acting role in a student written little theater festival in 2022. I participated in so many high school productions. Mainly, I've done tech work. Really, in the year 2020, I actually did a gap year program. Oh, thank you for saying congratulations. But in general, I'm much more familiar what it's like backstage in theater than I am really on stage. Although I do have a lot of performing art experience. I'm a dancer, really. Did ballet for 8 years and was part of a competitive marching band team in high school. And basically, I have a lot more experience doing backstage stuff, such as being an assistant costumer for 2 shows during my gap year, and building a lot of sets and being part of tech crew teams in high school. Hope that this. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Oh, yeah, that photo of me is cosplaying Ayano last year at Otakon. Yeah, I am currently based in Central Ohio, but I went to university in Washington, D.C. And I'm starting a new job here in Ohio, so I'm going to be here for at least the next couple of, at least for the next year and a couple of years. Okay, I'm also a longtime KagePro fan. You can see the photo here of me as Takane when I was 15 for my first ever cosplaying as Takane for my first ever convention. On the left, I made t-shirts for my friends. I believe it was summer of 28 or summer 2017 or 2018. I made some spray paint t-shirts for my friends and from marching band camp, and you can see me on the left. I'm not enemies with the girls on the right. She was just another cosplayer at Otakon, so I just blocked out her face because I didn't ask her permission to put her on a live stream. So basically, I made these shirts in 2017, 2018, and then I still wear them to conventions. Yeah. Oh, it's not a full screen anymore? Thank you for telling me. Let's see if I got that. Cute. Yes. It's just kind of weird because I seem to have to to switch to the next slide. I seem to have to go between screens. So I'm just kind of getting a bit used to that. Okay. Um, so this is part A of the presentation. Basically, why do I want to create a musical theater adaptation of the Kagerou Project? There are two major reasons, fandom reasons and theatrical reasons. One is the fandom appreciation aspect of the show. I love the Kagerou Project. It's I think it's really, really cool. I love the music and its messages about growing up and facing the future. And, I just love the story and I've loved it since I myself was, 14. Also, the story is written non-linearly, but I think that there are benefits and new perspectives to be gained by telling the story chronologically. I also think it'd be a cool opportunity to introduce more people to the Kagerou Project. For regarding theatrical reasons, the music is amazing, and it's basically a rock opera, and there have been previous rock operas such as Jesus Christ Superstar, as well as similar theatrical shows. And I think that since the Kagerou Project is already told through very visual language through its music videos, I think the Kagerou Project specifically tends to use very much. There are certain times in which through the way the music videos were made that it is creating a stage. I'm specifically thinking about Ayano's Theory of Happiness and her sitting on the TV. There's this sort of sense that the people creating the music videos for the Kagerou Project kind of understood it as a stage. But basically, the music videos already include a lot of visual language that can be replicated on stage. Also, the story was really important to me as a young person struggling with mental health issues, specifically Ayano. She is my favorite character. And I definitely think about her struggles and her struggles and her like lack of self-esteem despite caring so much and being and having community and people who love her, and kind of, what's it like, what happens to the people around you when you drop out of society, either by dying by the Yada or Shintaro, shutting out. It kind of shows how it impacts the other people around you who do still care. And currently, another reason why I do this show is because there's not a wide selection of teen musicals, meaning musicals about teenage characters that are appropriate for high schools and that its cast members can find relatable. Such as there's, of course, High School Musical, Mean Girls, the musical 13, but then the other musicals we have set in high school get into stuff like Grease or like Hairspray, which is just not really good musicals, but not really relatable for its modern teen audience. And I think that the Kagerou Project is a show that is not as much about the experience of high school, but more about being an adolescent, that I think young cast members for the show could find it really relatable and inspiring, and an overall just fun show to do. Mhm. Okay, also another thing I want to do is because it has been done before. The Death Note musical is pretty infamous, especially because it was originally written in English, and then, I believe the Death Note musical was originally written in English as a concept album, and then it was later adapted and put on stage in Japan and Korea, and then eventually, I think London. They had a production in London, I think a year or two ago. There's also the Your Lie in April musical that was last year, that was on the West End. And then there's also, the excuse me. Also, another thing is that musical adaptations of anime and manga franchises are pretty common in Japan. They're called 2.5 musicals, I believe. And they're a really great way for younger actors and performers to really get a start in Japan's musical theater industry. And here's an example of the adaptation of The Villainous Chronicles from a couple of years ago. So we even already have an example of a Vocaloid song series being adapted for the stage. So how do we do this? Through collaboration. That was a really big thing I learned this summer while working on this panel, is that I was basically Like, why? How can I figure this out? Like, why is this seem to be going nowhere? Nowhere. Why am I struggling so much to create this panel? And then I read a book called Musical Theater Production from Novices, which was very helpful. In which basically the issue was I was trying to do everything myself. Like, I myself have skills such as I'm very dedicated and passionate. I have great research skills, and I'm pretty well organized, and I know a lot about the Kagerou Project, but like I can read and sing music, but I don't know how to compose music. I've never done script writing before. I have not worked in event planning. There are all these there's so many moving parts to a musical theater show that you need a lot of people to join it. And a big part of this panel is really to help recruit people for the creative team and the production team. Which is just one and the same at this point because they're still in pre-production, that basically I'm looking for people to work with me to fill in those gaps of the skills so that we can create something that would be better than just me doing it all by myself. I did want to present my first draft of the musical and get some fandom feedback on Act 1 and some additional perspectives on Act 2, since Act 2 is really, it's basically the story is being told chronologically, so Act 1 is like pretty set in stone. It's Act 2 where there could be a lot of variation because that is where the book roots and the manga roots and the anime root and the music video roots all differ. So basically, this can only be accomplished through collaboration. Okay. Okay, so I basically set out a 3-year plan for this project. The schedule will probably be adjusted at some point, but this is kind of the schedule I created as a novice, as somebody who has not taken multiple classes on how to run a production. Basically, first step, I want to establish the creative production team, such as the director, the producer, the librettist, also known as the scriptwriter, also known as the playwright or scriptwriter, and the music composers, etc. I want to create a pitch deck for communications with other collaborators, such as licensing organizations, original music festivals, and potential collaborating venues. The term collaborating venues I'm going to explain later in this presentation, but you're going to hear it a lot. I want to begin writing the book for the script for the musical. This is known as the libretto. The libretto is the book portion of the musical. It is the script with spoken dialogue and includes the lyrics to the songs. That is also a citation for the page of the book I used in this presentation. You take a girl out of college, but you can't take the citations out of her. Another thing would be to work with Jubiphonic and any additional lyricists on the vocal book. The vocal book are the music and lyrics of each song number for the cast, but not the orchestration or sections with musical underscoring or dance sections. Basically, it's going to be like the sheet music for how to sing each one of these songs and its lyrics. I already got permission from Jubiphonic to be able to use some of her existing lyrics. However, that was just a, hey, are you interested? And she said yes. So that is not a written and legal official collaboration. I just said, hey, can I mention you? And she said yes. But that is someone who I'm looking to work with. But in addition and such, there are also a bunch of other songs that she has not written English trans lyrics for. Or, for example, I have grown attached to certain English trans lyrics of other songs written by different people, such as I'm gonna back. Such as there are songs like Gunjo Rain and Dead and Seek and Remind Blue and My Funny Weekend and Fireworks at the Summer's End, that she has not written English trans lyrics for. Maybe other people have. I know that I do have a fondness for I think her name is Janie's English trans lyrics of the song Days. I got kind of attached to that, So it's more the fact that we do have one lyricist, but I probably will need an additional lyricist either to write these English trans lyrics or at least to coordinate with other people who have already written some trans lyrics for these. For this, this is to achieve by next year. This is the first year. I want to also begin composing the music for the show. This is called the piano conductor score. This is a full orchestration of the entire musical. It will be used by the rehearsal accompanist the musical director working with the cast, and the conductor. Basically, I want to have like the piano music and the guitar for the show. Really begin working on that this first year, and also get started on figuring out the copyright laws for this musical adaptation. And this is all stuff I want to achieve by next year. To achieve by 2027, I want to finish having the libretto written, have the piano conductor score be finished, and also be finished writing the vocals book, which would be basically the choir music. I would also want to have the rights and permissions to put on the show, as well as have answers to the following copyright-related questions, such as, can we use the character designs as costumes in the show? Jin himself has, I only learned about this a couple weeks ago through translations of the Japanese comment sections on his song Summering, that apparently Jin himself is in copyright hell. So what does that mean for us? Who knows yet? What are the laws on adaptation regarding musicals? What are the laws on adapting copyrighted material from Japan? Those are a lot of things to figure out. That's why I had that not be due until 2 years from now. I also want to record in 2 years, have an audio recording of a stage reading of the show, a stage reading being in which someone narrates all the dialogue in the show, and we have 4 singers who can sing the different vocal parts of the show. It might be 4 to 6, because, it'd be like the soprano, the alto section, the tenor, the baritone, sections, just to kind of hear what it would sound like as a musical piece. And then I'd also want to submit the recordings of the stage reading to new musical festivals to get professional feedback. Goals for the third year to achieve by 2028 would be to have the show be performed within an established theater institution that works with youth and students. Specifically, since the majority of the cast will be between the ages of, I think, 8 to 22, this is in order to reduce risk. I'm calling these a collaborating venue. Basically, I'm someone who, to me, it seemed like a not super amazing idea to just like go around to different places and be like, hey, you want to do this musical, random child? Like, no, like don't. That seemed like a really big way to invite a lot of risk, especially when I'd be working on this new musical and us as a creative team would probably be under a lot of stress. When you're working with young actors and singers, you need to take on a nurturing perspective, because they are just students, they're just kids, they're trying to learn. And I was thinking, I want for this project to reduce any emotional risk or putting any of the kids in uncomfortable situations, the kids being the cast members. I thought it would be a good idea to work within a collaborating venue, such as a high school performing arts school, a large musical theater studio or school, a university theater program, a summer theater camp, or and potentially have eventually put on the show at Otakon, because that's the convention, that's like one of my local conventions when I lived in DC. But in general, I want the musical to be pitched to an establishment that already works with students of musical theater to put on the show. So we're not just, so that kids who are unfamiliar with the Kagerou Project can become involved, but also so that the kids aren't put in undue pressure to achieve this. I don't know if any of you all saw the DazeCon 3-hour documentary by Strange Aeons, but about how Lachlan, who created the idea for DazeCon, and how it was very easy for the adults around her to manipulate her because she was 17 and very passionate. That's the exact thing I do not want to happen. That's the thing I do not want to happen. I do not want a kid to be pushing themselves because they're so passionate. I want it to be in a good, constructive environment. So I want to work with, an established institution that is already well familiar with working with kids. Also because that's a whole different field, learning how to teach musical theater to kids. Let's see. And then basically finalize that collaborating venue, select a set designer, sound designer, lighting designer, costume designer, etc. Write and compose the orchestration books depending on what type of musicians are available. Depending on whatever venue we work with, we could be working with a whole orchestra, a whole band, or just a couple of, or just a drummer and a bass guitarist. We don't know yet. And hopefully hold the first ever production of the show within 3 years. I think that this is a bit of an ambitious schedule, but I just want to get a good layout for at least kind of some yearly goals. So Elephant in the room, adaptation copyright hell. There have been musical adaptations of multimedia franchises, such as specifically musicals produced after the main franchise's major story has been completed, such as the recent Beetlejuice music, and the recent Beetlejuice musical adaptations of The Addams Family. So it has been done before, but it's also the fact that Act Two can be kind of whatever we want it to be, and there's already so much variance between the light novels, manga, songs, and anime. Um, whose permission do we have to get if we for me, I want to use the anime ending because that's the good end in which Ayano, Hiyori, and Haruka come back to life. And in my personal opinion, like the themes of the Kagerou Project cannot be fulfilled unless Ayano and Hiyori like come back to life at the end, and the days is like abolished. But like who owns the rights to that? There's also the fact that we will, as fans working with this material, we will most definitely take inspiration from various parts of the franchise and even in a way maybe be inspired accidentally by fan works of the Kagerou Project. What is the copyright situation when creating work from a fandom? I don't know yet. That's something that. Oh, another comment also did make a good point was it will also probably change if we're planning on profiting off of this or not. I'd like to say that I think I'm actually speaking a little bit too loud. I'm sorry. I'm going to lower my volume a little bit, hopefully. Um, for Marina Moraes, I will answer that question later. But as PokeP said, it also depends if we're profiting off of this or not. I don't really think it will or can make a profit. Like it's not a show that I want to put on Broadway. It's not a show that fits for Broadway. It is a show that works for high schools to be able to put on as their spring musical. Like I don't think it's going to make a profit and that's not even really my intention. However, musical productions are expensive, so if we do end up collecting like funds, I do want to like pay investors back. But like, I don't really intend to profit on this. This is not a profitable work. And so hopefully, whoever we work with will be okay with the copyright if we're like, hey, we're not going to make any money. But also, where does cosplay land in copyright? I don't know. Say also another thing too with like even using QB Phonics English lyrics, since she has a manager, like she herself is her own artist, to what extent like are the rights hers, and that's the thing we can work out later, but it's just more of this sense of like this is all really big and confusing and it will take a lot of time and effort to work through, but we do have examples of it being done, such as the Death Note musical and the Your Lie in April musicals as examples of media from Japan that was adapted in a musical in English, and then both of these shows were performed in the UK, which is not the United States, but at least we have examples that this is possible, albeit difficult, I am assuming. So now we're going to outline the roles for the pre-production process, basically forming the production team. I'm going to take a second to drink some water. Thank you for the second, for your patience for a second there. When we get to the halfway point, I will take like a 5-minute break. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm hiccuping. Also, I do see your comments, but I will be going over them when we get to the halfway point. Um, thank you. Um, Okay, so the production director, that's gonna be me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's my project and I'm choosing to be the production director. Let me go back. Basically, the director has final say on all artistic aspects of a production, is in charge of everything that happens on stage, the director's in charge of both artistic and managerial functions, and it's their job to bring the musical from page to the stage, the show's dialogue, song lyrics, dance numbers, and actions of its actors. The website Musical 101 described a director as a mixture of a dictator, diplomat, artist, mind reader, and drill sergeant. I am not most of those things. I'm going to let you all know that I'm actually making a distinction between a production director and a stage director, which will be a position much later down in the process. You will have a stage director when we have that collaborated venue and like institution we'll be working with secured. That stage director will be somebody who will be basically in charge of what we consider blocking in musical theater. Basically, where is a person being situated on the stage? How do the actors interact with each other? I am not somebody with experience directing a musical theater show or any show, but I do have a lot of experience doing and directing projects. So I'm going to be the production director. When we get to the point of the show, we're actually ready to put it on stage. There will be a stage director who is directly working with the actors and actresses, who has studied and is experienced in that and knows what they're doing. But basically, at this point, I will be in charge of its artistic and managerial functions for our project. The next person I'm looking for is a publicity and outreach coordinator. I need someone to help me create a pitch deck, which I will describe later, to send to future theater collaborators. This is somebody who reaches out to and interacts with prospective advertisers and sponsors for the show. Really, somebody who is getting the word out about the show and has experience on social media. This publicity and outreach coordinator will also help me look for people to fill any open roles of the production team. I just graduated college. I will be working a full-time job from now on. Other collaborators with this project will undoubtedly run into similar issues and scheduling conflicts. I want to have somebody there who can help me find people to fill in certain gaps when those gaps will eventually occur. As life happens, sometimes a curveball gets thrown your way and you're like, oh, I thought I'd have the summer free to work on this. I don't. Let's find somebody who can do some of this work so that when I'm ready again to do it, somebody else can fulfill that place again. The publicity and outreach coordinator should have experience in communication, specifically with publicity and outreach, and experience working on social media, skills in communicating professionally with others, and background in arts management and theater. Also, that person should be a KagePro fan. The next position I'm looking for is a communications lead and general production assistant. This person will also help me create the pitch deck. Basically, the production assistant will help me coordinate schedules, organize papers, and act as a messenger. They can really manage a lot of incoming, not funds, but like basic incoming requests and answer questions about the production for prospective people who are advertisers, sponsors, people who are just interested in joining the project. This person will also serve as a liaison between me and other members of the production team. This communications lead and general production assistant should be reliable, have good people skills, be organized, be not shy and not a micromanager, and someone who has a knack for scheduling and a take charge attitude. And this person should also be a KagePro fan. A producer. Basically, the producer is an incredibly important job in musical theater because they oversee all of the business aspects of the production, coordinating everything that does not involve the events on stage. The producer secures funding, watches over the budget, oversees the hiring of the creative team. We're not really hiring because we don't have money, but basically oversees who is working with us. That producer will secure the theater's venue and make sure everything's running smoothly, and they have the final authority on all spending. decisions, and their goal is to get the best possible team to stage the best possible production while staying within budget without a major financial loss for investors. This project will require money to do. We're not at the point at which we will be needing to ask for money for any sort of investors, but that will happen within the next 2 years. So we want to have somebody who has professional knowledge and experience working in the performing arts space, working with us. This person should have experience with budgeting, securing venues, and funding for large events. Preferably, the producer will be a KagePro fan, but it's not required. They should have an interest in supporting musical productions. They can create a budget. Somebody who, as the book described, determine exactly how much money to raise to cover the expenses of a proposed show. And basically, a producer this is not your first time doing this. A producer that we may use does not have to be a KagePro fan at this time. And when a producer comes to mind, I'm thinking of maybe former professors I've had, or maybe for any of you, maybe thinking of maybe if you did theater or something related to the performing arts as a degree. Maybe you're thinking of like a professor who maybe could serve as a good producer. But basically, I don't want it to be a situation in which we're working with money and this is our first time doing this. But in general, I saw Maury's post that the main experience someone needs is to be a KagePro fan. Yes, a bit. It's not mandatory, especially with this producer position. I really kind of want somebody to be like, quote unquote, maybe like, I know I'm an adult, but like the adult in the room, somebody who has done theater production before and can stop our team from accidentally defrauding people. I don't want that to happen. You know, trying to like make these decisions ahead of time before we run into any potential issues. We need a legal consultant. We need a legal consultant who can research and interact with lawyers for the various copyright issues producing this new musical presents. Someone who needs to understand the rules about adapting existing works into musicals, rules about translating foreign language works into English for an American production, rules regarding costume designs and character designs in regards to copyright, rules surrounding writing trans lyrics of existing music, experience desire, be a lawyer, or at least knows how to find a good lawyer, someone who's meticulous, persistent, and detail-oriented, and has knowledge of the Japanese language or access to a reliable translator. This is very important, especially because, like, I don't want to waste everyone's time and effort for us putting on a show that is not feasible. But we have examples that suggest that it is feasible to put on this show. But we do need a lawyer. We need a lawyer. If any of you are law school students, and are interested in choosing a field of law to study, you should definitely choose copyright and then do a minor in Japanese language. That'd be so cool for the project. I'm kidding, but some of you may be in that field, and I'm basically looking for someone who either is a lawyer or knows the field well, or at least knows how to find somebody who can help us understand this. Okay, I'm seeing the comments, so you guys, can you hear me? That's something I'm worried about. Is the connection going out? But also, this legal consultant does not have to be a KagePro fan. They just need to know the law. Next position I'm looking for is a business partner coordinator. This will foster relationships between our production team and the various businesses already involved in the Kagerou Project in Japan and the United States. Something I was reading about in the musical production for novices is that, to me, I was looking at the show as, oh, pretty please, can we please have permission to put on this show? But the musical was like, hey, shows are also a good opportunity for existing businesses to get advertising. They will pay people, businesses will pay will pay theaters and production companies to put on shows that they sponsor and get their name on, so they could get advertising. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe this could serve as a pretty cool opportunity in the sort of we get something, you get something. So I'm looking for a business partner coordinator to really try and connect to the people who are already connected to the publishing of aspects of the Kagerou Project in the United States. such as Yen Press, which publishes the KagePro light novels and manga series. Aniplex of America produced like Makaku City Actors, and Crunchyroll has the rights to legally stream Makaku City Actors. We're basically looking, and not just for asking for permission to do the show, but also looking to see, hey, who here wants to sponsor us? What is a business that is, what are there any businesses that do perform services or sell products related to Japanese media and musical theater that could get something out of working with us? For a business partner coordinator, I'm looking for somebody with professional experience working in publicity, sales, and/or advertising, someone who has knowledge of the Japanese language or has access to a reliable translator, and hopefully is a KagePro fan, but that is not mandatory. As I said before, now I'm explaining what the pitch deck is. The pitch deck will be created by the production director, me, the future communications lead, and the future publicity and outreach coordinator. This was actually recommended to me by a panelist at a convention I went to, Anime Columbus. And this one cosplayer and also panel host who works in Disney's merchandising recommended me creating a pitch deck when I described this project to her. She said, make a nice PowerPoint and a PDF version of it to send out to people via email to get them interested in the project. It should be a quick and easy summary of the project to communicate to the theater groups who would like to put on the production. Basically creating a nice professional looking, quick little couple PowerPoint slides to be like, here's what this is. We're real, you know. This again, since I would like the show to be performed by an established theater institution, it would be these people who would be receiving the pitch deck, as well as the potential sponsors I talked about before, as well as the people who will be interacting with regarding the copyright legality of putting on the show. So yeah, basically creating a pitch deck that is professional will help us in the long run for the rest of this project. Another role that we need is a playwright / librettist. The playwright, the person writes the script of the musical, has the job of bridging the songs and dialogues to move the story forward while it's still engaging the audience. I'm looking for a maximum of 2 playwrights / librettists. Their experience desire is the experience I desire for this position would be having experience in creative writing, has extensive knowledge of the Kagerou Project, and has written a theatrical script before, or at least has studied how to write a musical or a play. That is not something I know how to do, and I think that there are other people who have already taken that time and gotten that education and have experience of writing scripts for plays and musicals before, so I want to give them that opportunity to work with us if they're already in the KagePro fandom or can be convinced to become very interested in it. The next role is the lyricist. Julie Phonic has already given us permission to use her lyrics, at least unofficially, and thus is automatically a lyricist. But I am looking for an additional lyricist to either select existing trans lyrics for the following songs, or to find the people who have already written English trans lyrics for these following songs, or somebody who wants to write new ones. I also forgot to add the song Days, Days, to this section. The experience desire is just experience writing music lyrics, experiencing writing English trans lyrics for songs written in other languages, extensive knowledge of the Kagerou Project. We need a canon. For this production, we also need a canon consultant, basically a professional nerd, someone researcher who knows the project well, because I know it's a sin. I have not finished reading the manga and I've not watched the anime in a couple of years, but we basically need somebody who's like a KagePro nerd who can identify where in the Musicula's light novels, manga, and anime similar scenes have occurred, basically become a fandom fact checker. And this person is not really involved in the script and lyric writing process, because when you are adapting a work, you will inevitably end up changing it. But I want to have someone like a canon consultant there to be like, okay, is this meaning, yes, we are changing this thing, this is how we changed it, what are the pros and cons of this? Back. Sorry. Person should have an extensive knowledge of the Kagerou Project, ability to provide edits and advice, experience in research, also has knowledge of the Japanese language and or access to a reliable translator. I also want this person to have knowledge of Japanese culture and perspectives, to be kind of oh, don't do that, that would be culturally inappropriate, you know. That the cultural awareness could be an additional positive thing the canon consultant could have, but that is not mandatory. Also, I can have more than one canon consultant, but I wouldn't want more than two, I don't think. Choral composers, a maximum of 2 choral composers. Basically, these are the people who would be writing the sheet music for the different musical parts for the singers. They work together to create the vocal book, which is basically the sheet music that each one of the singers in the musical will be getting. They should have experience composing choral arrangements, can write sheet music, and understand how different musical parts blend and interact within a choir. These are also the musical composers, which I need right at this point. I need a maximum of 2 musical composers, a pianist and a guitarist. One in part because most music is composed on the piano, and 2, when Jin does his like acoustic covers, he uses guitar. So it seems to me that guitar and piano would probably be the 2 primary. Like Jin himself uses a guitar when performing his own music. That we can kind of view that as like the base of like the foundation of a lot of the music in the Kagerou Project. And a lot of musical theater music is composed on the piano first. So looking for a pianist and a guitarist. And an additional musician, such as like a violinist or a flautist, could also work too. Basically to compose the basics of the musical, mainly how the songs will flow from one song to another and keep the show musically cohesive regarding its leitmotifs and recurring musical themes. The musical composers would create the piano conductor score for the show. Experience desire, experience composing music, experience adapting existing pieces of music into new piano and or guitar pieces, experience writing sheet music for piano and guitar. This one thing, which we probably wouldn't be looking for until more than a year from now, would be singers for the stage reading and its audio recording. Basically a narrator to perform the libretto, just somebody to read out all the lines in the show, just be like, hey, this is what it sounds like, even though if it's just one person reading the entire show, just one person reads for all the different parts, just so you can hear it kind of as one set. And then have a couple of performers perform the musical kind of as a choir in a way. They would only be like 4 to 6 of them for each one of the different like parts in the music, such as soprano, mezzo-soprano, contralto, also known as alto, tenor, baritone, and bass. Basically, the singers and the narrator would perform the entire vocal book together just to hear what it sounds like as a musical. And even then, we'd probably still be making edits after that audio recording. But the experience desired is just, can you read sheet music and can you sing well enough? We are not looking for people at this stage, at this step in the process. That's going to be for at least another year. These are other production roles that will be much more dependent on us having selected our future venue for the show, such as the stage director, as I described earlier, to someone who is familiar with working with young people and can knows how to work with them on stage. Another thing too is that book I was reading called The Director's Toolkit, by Robin J. Schraft, actually talks a lot about how the director basically serves as the eyes of the audience, and is really the role of the director is to view the show as if they've seen it for the first time and try and understand okay, is the audience still able to understand this show even if they haven't done all the background research that all the actors and production member teams have done? And so I want the stage director of the show to actually be somebody unfamiliar with the Kagerou Project, because I want them to be able to have that eye. I'm sorry, it's the pun. Somebody else to have that perspective to understand, okay, is this musical understandable for an audience member who was just the parent of the child in this musical? Other roles, such as a casting director and an acting coach, will be chosen based on whatever school we are working with. The musical director, as well as also the creation of the orchestration books, for the sheet music for the different instruments, the additional instruments that we can use in the show, all that stuff we won't be deciding until we already have a place selected. A vocal director and a technical director. Basically, this is all stuff we'd be doing years later that we're not looking for people right now. So, if you are interested, here is the email I've created for the project as well as a Google interest form. The form is just you can put in your contact information. And it's Q&A time basically right now. I'm going to take a couple minutes to do Q&A, and then I'm going to take like a 10-minute break to get some water and tea. But yeah, I'm going to go to the chat right now, and answer some questions for the next 5 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to look at some of the chat. For story 2200, yes, the slides will be available after the live. I'm going to post the recording of this live at the end of the panel. Mhm. Okay, also, story 2022, you said that Ripple, the company that owns the Kagerou copyright, is going bankrupt. Can you please put that in the comments and explain it a bit more? And speaking of the show, would the book be translated into Japanese as well? I That is a good question. I'm not sure yet. I think it'd be more the sort of sense that like I don't know. I feel like if the book would be translated back in Japanese, I feel like it would be possible, but I feel like it would be kind of a copyright um like uh hurricane or like whirlpool in a way, because I think that like because one part of me is like, oh, Jin should write the musical adaptation of the show. But then part of it's also like, no, I want my own experiences with the Kagerou Project to impact and shape what this musical is like and how it will be viewed by an predominantly American audience. But I also think like if the musical was to be put on in Japan, I'm assuming Jin himself would probably want to have more control over what the script and dialogue sounds like. So I guess I could say possibly, but that's like way down the line for translating the musical script back into Japanese. For Ani Monk, do you think this would do as a low stakes community project that you could post to YouTube if you're unable to get rights and fundings to go around and perform as planned? For Ani Much, I guess yes, in a way. I definitely do think that is possible, but I do think that a low stakes community project would also mean that a lot of that work would be put onto us as fans. And for example, I'm going to be starting full-time work soon. And as you guys saw the extra slide in which it shows all the different roles that when you're actually putting a show together, all that requires and it entails. Part of me for wanting to work in an established institution was like a school, a musical theater school, or a university program, is one for safety, but two, because that's already people who know how to do that. I think I would be able to do it as a community project, but it would also take it'd take me much longer, and it would take me having to teach myself a lot of those skills that I don't already have, if that makes sense. So I guess for Ani Munch, yes, it could be a low stakes community project, but that it is only if we are unable to get the rights as needed. Um, uh, is it okay if we aren't located in Ohio? Yes. We are not even at that point in the production in which we all have to be meeting in person. That wouldn't be until the second year. So truly at this time, it doesn't really matter where you're located. And it's also the fact that I don't even know like if I'm going to be leaving Ohio in a year. I know my current job I'm gonna be working there for a year, but afterwards, I don't know. It's only my first job out of college, so I could be moving. I prefer personally, like I went to university in DC and I really liked living there and I'd love to move back, but if there's no jobs, I'm not gonna do that. So in the panel because I'd love to have from Maury. You say you have a girlfriend who wants to join this. Definitely send it to them. Like we need more like production assistants. Like we need more. We need people to help me do this, basically. So yes, if they're interested in it, definitely send it to them. Yes, we will be looking for musicians for recordings and of arrangements. Specifically, much more for the arrangements right now. There's the age range of the production team is honestly just 18 and up. The cast, specifically like who's going to be on stage, I said most of them will be between the ages of like 8 to 22, but that's just because most of about half the cast are like the Makaku, the Makaku, the Dan, and those characters themselves are between the ages of like 12 to like 16. So, but there's still a bunch of different adult characters in the cast. And so the age range for the production team is just be 18 or older. And you do not need to be in a specific location to get involved in the crew right now. And we are not at any place close to casting. And for PokeP, no, you do not need only a graduate. It's fine. Like, definitely work with us and do it, you know. Yeah. To work on the production team or just to help out in any way with this pre-production process, which we're going to be doing for at least the next year and a half. You just have to be an adult, totally like feel ready to like, you know, fill out the forms, send me an email, you know, through that email address. Um, yeah. Yeah. I was just talking about work in regards to the fact that trying to do it as a community thing would be a lot of work that I think would be possible, but much more difficult than working with people who are already working in youth theater. So yeah. Yeah. And as I said, like we wouldn't have the cast selected for like years, not until, you know. But if you are interested in performing music or recording or arranging, please still reach out to me. Especially as musical composition is a unique skill that I do not have. Um, for an email, just like for the email, you can just put like your name again and just like be like hi, you know, and just write you know, any comments you have or any preferred positions or aspects of the process that you are interested in. I'm going to take oh yeah, experience in high school theater. That'd be perfectly fine. Story 2200. That'd be perfectly fine. hmm hmm And also for some of the roles, you don't even have to have experience in musical theater, such as like for roles such as the communications and the production assistant, you know. You don't have to have experience in musical theater for those aspects, since a lot of that is really organization and event planning and scheduling. But yeah, I'm gonna take the 5 to 10 minute break just to get some water and to get some air. The stream's still gonna be going. I'm just gonna turn off my sound. Thank you, and please continue putting any questions in the chat. I will answer them at the end of the second part of the presentation. Thank you. Hello, can everyone hear me? Thank you for your patience and I'm just gonna wait. Um Hello. Mhm. Um okay, great. So you all can hear me. Great. Um so next slide. Part B. This is basically going into my draft of this is my draft of the musical, basically. And there's going to be a pretty large cast for this show. We're going to need at least 28 actors, but I'm basically going to start explaining each line represents one actor, and most of the actors will play two roles. For example, the actress playing Ayano Tateyama will also play Yaki, Shintaro's snake. We will also be casting a child as young Ayano, and that girl will also play young Momo in a different part of the show. We'll have Ayaka Tateyama, Ayano's mom, and she will also play Ayano's snake. We, of course, have a Sabumi Kido, a young Kido, Rin's Kito's sister Rin. Kito will also play Kito's snake. Of course, I have Shuya Kano, a child to represent young Kano. Um, we'll have a woman represent Kano's mother, who will be Kano's mother, Miss Kano. Kano's snake, and she will also play the role of city resident number one. The city residents are part of the ensemble, and the snakes are also in a different group of ensemble characters. We have, of course, Kyosuke Seto, a young Seto. Seto's snake will also be played by the man playing Tsukihiko. And for Tsukihiko, his character, I do actually want a real like adult actor with albinism to play this role, in part because albinism is a stigmatized disability and condition, but also like disab so sorry. Disability is a pretty important and recurring theme within the Kagerou Project. So I want that to be accurately represented in the show and give more opportunities for actors with disabilities. And also because the albinism is like plot relevant. Also, it's incredibly interesting that Jin was making a reference to that I only recently learned is that people with albinism are very often born with eye problems due to the lack of pigmentation in their eyes, which is why Tsukihiko in the Kagerou Project is always shown with like closed eyes or squinting, because people with albinism actually usually have to wear like sunglasses because they have eye issues. And I think it's super like notable that the combination of eye powers and somebody who is born with a genetic condition that actually typically limits their eyesight, unless for like Shion and Mary, snake magic, they don't have eye problems because of that. We'll also be having someone play Mary Kusakura. In the musical, Mary can actually be considered the main character. She sings the most amount of songs, with the second most important characters being Ayano, Shintaro, and Takane. She actually has one more song than both Ayano and Shintaro. We'll have a young child actress play both young Mary and young Shion. We'll have an adult actress play Shion. We will have an actress playing Azami, who will also play Mary's Queen Snake. Next character list, we have, of course, Momo Kisaragi. We have the same actress who will play young Ayano will also play young Momo. We will have Momo Snake will be played by Mr. Kisaragi, Shintaro, and Momo's father, who will also play the ensemble role of City Resident 2. We have the same actress who will play Takane Enomoto and Ene, which just be one girl who plays both roles. With Ene, we will likely have her be represented when Takane is Takane, she'll just be on stage, but sometimes in the show, when it's Ene, we might just have it be like a recording, as in the actress will stand back behind stage and then deliver her lines into the mic, but we can't see her on stage to represent Ene. because I think that'd be a lot easier than trying to do the like on stage equivalent of trying to convey to the audience NA's like floating digital being. Also, Takene's snake will be also played by the ensemble member, city resident number 3. Of course, Shintaro Kisaragi. We have Hibiya will be in the show. Also, Hibiya's snake will also be represented by the ensemble cast member, city resident 4. We'll have Hiyori, Haruka Kokonose, Konoha. Konoha is going to be a separate actor than Haruka. I think that makes a lot of sense just staging wise, because I just do not think it would be possible to have Haruka and Konoha play the same role in the way I've written the musical. Konoha will play, of course, Haruka's snake, because that's what he is, but also Seiru, the evil snake, and Kuroha. So Konoha, the actor, is going to have a pretty, like, dynamic range of being able to play this very, very soft character, but then also bring out the really big vocals for the evil Outer Science song number. Of course, we have Kenjiro Tateyama. I've just categorized the groups, the Kakushidan members who will be played by actors between the ages of like 14 to about 22, and then the adults will of course be played by, the adult characters will be played by, adults. For the city residents, I think you could probably go to maybe be about like late teens, early 20s. We have a bit more flexibility with some of the city residents, specifically Hibiya Snake and NA Snake. We could have those 2 city residents actually be teens, if that actually might work a bit better for a couple of scenes. But I've kind of sorted the characters by their status in the Dan and if they're like an adult. Also, we have what I call the littles, the kids who are going to be 10 years old or under. They'll be played young Ayano and young Momo, the young Kido actress, the young Kano actor, young Seto actor, and the young Mary and young Shion actress. Here's also, again, the list of all the snakes. The snakes will also form basically a dance ensemble and will be in a couple of different songs, wearing their snake costumes and kind of dancing or acting as a musical chorus, such as Shinigami Record. They're going to also be in Yobanashi Deceive. And what's another piece they're going to be in? Yeah, I think those are the two dance roles, I think, where I want to be using the snakes. Or some of the dance roles might be the people who are designated as city residents, such as having people, I want to have some of the ensemble city residents put on little animal hats and represent the little forest animals during Imagination Forest. But yeah. And so now we're in Act 1, scene breakdown. How are you all feeling? Oh, Marina Moraes, you are right. I completely forgot about the terrorists. Oh, I will have to add those. I guess the cast will now be about 30. Thank you so much for telling me that. Also, KJG, you said if everything goes to plan, when do you expect casting to start? Not for 3 years, probably. Okay. I really hope no one quotes the "oh, I forgot the terrorists" out of context. That'd be very funny. But now we're going to Act 1, scene breakdown. Okay. So these are the songs to include in the musical, Act 1, the musical. We probably will not end up including actually all of the songs because then the show could be 4 hours. I am not sure. We will most likely not be doing full versions of all of the songs. Some of the songs, for example, have part A, part B, is because I will be dividing the song in half, such as you'll see this in the scene breakdown, but for example, doing like only part of Ayano's Theory of Happiness, having some more scenes, do the second part and do the third part. For UK Yesterday, it's part A, even though it's almost like 100% of the song, except like the last like verses will be in UK Yesterday Part 2. So they're all going to be different lengths of time, but as you can see, this is pretty aspirational, and there are a lot of songs. This is just my proposal. This will be edited, but this is just to kind of see how I want to include as many songs as possible in the show. Okay, so Act 1, we are going to be opening the show. Oh, Marina. Okay, Marina, I see your question about the ensemble part. You're asking amazing questions. I will definitely take note of that. Thank you, specifically for the other ensemble cast members. Okay, so we are in scene one. Scene one, beginning of Act One. I want it to start similar to the start of the Makaku City anime, in which it is Shintaro speaking to Yaki, like his snake, who is represented by Ayano with like the snake, with like the snake scales on her face, and him like talking to her, and she's talking very mysteriously about remembering the tragedy. But I want Act One, I want this scene to really be kind of showing Mary resetting time. I think that Mary's Fictional World is a good kind of way to introduce the cast to the concept of the recurring timelines as we're seeing the end of one timeline into a new one. Yeah, so here are some visuals I just have to kind of represent that. In this scene, 1 second, I'm just getting. Mhm. We will have, hope you can all still hear me. Okay. That scene one. On the characters on stage will be Shintaro, Yaki, Azami, and Mary. The people who will be singing will be Yaki, Mary, Azami, and the snake chorus will all be singing in this part. This would actually be one of the scenes in which the snake chorus would be in. Scene two, children's record. I want us to have the really big, bombastic, cool musical theater opening number. That's going to be children's record. For children's record, everybody is going to be on stage and singing. Ayano, the Makaku Shidan, Hiyori, Kenjiro, Shion, Azami, Haruka, basically anybody who's in the original music video. They will all be on stage and will all be singing different parts and the different little lyrics that are relevant to them. Scene three, meeting the Tateyama family. On stage will be Ayaka, Kenjiro, young Ayano, young Hiro, young Kano, and young Seto. This is really kind of an introduction to the family. I kind of want to explore the dynamics of Hiro, Seto, and Kano, and Ayano as children. I really was imagining a scene of the kids trying to get ready for bed and hiding from their mom, hiding from Ayaka, and using their eye powers to kind of um, get out of getting ready for bed. Because I'm trying to think of a show don't tell, such as like Keto, like using her eye powers to hide, like to like disappear because she's worried about Ayaka getting mad at her for not being in her PJs yet. I imagine Kano turning into like a cat, and Ayaka's like, "We do not own a cat, Kano, change back." Or then Seto just like crying and reading Ayaka's mind, being like, "It's fine, mom's not mad at us," you know. So I was trying to really think of, I don't know, exploring the dynamics of the kids and introducing the eye powers more organically. I'd also want to show Ayaka as being the more structured, authoritative parent, while Kenshiro is the more like, you know, it's whatever, the cool dad kind of vibe. I also want to introduce Ayaka as a folklorist who is studying the Japanese Medusa, kind of showing that she is somebody who is studying this, because that's like a little trivia thing of the show, but kind of saying that like Ayaka knows a lot about the days because that's something she's been studying like as part of like her job as a professor. And in the musical, we're going to be leading into Shinigami Record. I really want in the musical, Shinigami Record is a song like within the text, like within this musical. Shinigami Record is a song composed and published a couple hundred years ago by Shion about her family and about her time traveling Japan after her mom went into the days before she gave birth to Mary. I kind of want to talk about this as Ayaka telling the kids the story of Shinigami Record, basically because Ayaka suspects that the three kids are somehow descendants or related to the Kozakuras, and Ayaka states that is Shion who was recorded this poem, which we sing as a music number, the poem being Shinigami Record, based on this mysterious woman from 300 years ago's the disappearance of her mother. So yeah, I kind of want the song to be introduced as Ayaka singing or like reading a storybook, and then it transfers the scene into showing Azami and Tsukihiko and like young Shion and what happens and how she went into the create the days and left. I'm not sure if that all makes sense. I'm going to check the chat. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat now. I'm not exactly sure if I explained that all well. I'm trying to figure out of like how to also because also Shinigami Records, specifically its version in the anime, is such a beautiful song, and I do want it to be included. And I do like the idea of it being introduced to the Makakushi Dad as a story their mother once told them. I think it's a good way. I think it's also a good way to show what inspires Seto to kind of go into the woods in a way, you know, especially because there's a lot of imagery in Imagination Forest and Shonen Brave of the idea of like a childhood storybook. So I think that's also interesting. I also like the idea of, I don't know, of Ayaka being, you'll see this later in the show, of Ayaka and her fears about like motherhood and being a mom and caring for her kids and how she relates to Shion as also as a mother. And also I like the idea that like we never meet who Mary's dad is, but the fact that because he died like before Mary got to be like old enough to really remember. But I like the fact that Shion did go out into the world. She mentions it in Gunja Rain that she did like leave her house and she traveled. We can assume she traveled. She married a man she loved and had a kid. And I think that that's incredibly, I don't know, I love Shion as a character, and there's so much about like what is not said but what is implied about her, in the way that she is somebody whose mother, in her perspective, her mom abandoned her, and yet she still chose to live in the world, to enter society, and to live a life, which I think is incredibly interesting and cool. And yeah. Can someone please in the chat tell me if I'm making sense? I'm sorry, I'm spending way too much time on this one scene. Okay, got one. Thank you, Pokefee. I'm just gonna go to the next scene. Thank you. Okay, next scene, Ayano's Theory of Happiness, Part 1. This is when she introduces the idea of the Makakushidan to the kids, and the whole like red scarf, and the red is the color of a hero. On stage, it's young Ayano, young Kiro, young Kano, young Seto. The person who will be singing probably this track will actually be Ayano, like the teen Ayano. I think she'd be singing a lot more this part, while like, you know, the younger version, the younger actor of her will be like, you know, interjecting a little bit. But, you know, I just think it's, you know, it might be a bit of a hard song for a kid to sing, but yeah, basically it'd be the four of them on stage together in the house. Next is Shonen Brave. On stage will be, at the very beginning of this piece, will be young Seto, young Kiro, and young Kano. Later in, like, that's only in the first, like, 30 seconds. Then later in the song, it's really young Seto singing and the city residents as he runs away from the city and into the woods to kind of maybe, because he already, you know, he kind of runs into the woods randomly, but then he's there, he's like, and he finds the girl he's heard in his mom's story, then it's like extra cool. For Shonen, I'm trying to do a combination of Shonen Brave and Imagination's Forest. Not exactly sure how we would do that, but I think there is a way. Next, Imagination Forest. On stage, young Seto, Mary, Shion and young Mary, and also like, you know, the bandits will probably be on the stage for briefly during that interlude. And I do want the city residents to be wearing animal ears and like accessories. I want this song to be very like children's theater, very like not like kind of like little puppets, you know, very cutesy, very fun. You know, just a very lighthearted song. That really is like that like kind of captures that innocence and beauty and joy of childhood. Next song is this one we may not have time to include in the show, but this is kind of like a personal thing I really like, is Junjo Rain. On stage would be Ayaka, young Ayano, young Seto, young Kano, young Kyoto, all sleeping in the bed as the stage is kind of split in half with Ayaka and her kids and Shion and young Mary. Both the mothers have their kids in bed as Ayaka is reading this poem, the poem being Gunjo Rain, published by this woman she does not know 300 years earlier. That is like, it's kind of in this way of like connecting to people's emotions across through literature and song from hundreds of years ago, but really as Ayaka sings a song to herself, like Ayaka reads a story to her kids as she imagines Shion doing the same thing with Mary as a child. I do love Gunter Rain. It's one of my favorite songs, and it's a really beautiful song about motherhood, and I think it's really cool. Yeah. I'm not a mom though. I should like I feel like I don't know why I said to say that I'm not a mom, but like you know, mhm. Okay, so now we're doing Yana's Theory of Happiness Part B. We just got to have a Yaka song, then she passes away in a car accident. Sucks. So we're doing that. If we're doing that, we're doing those songs. On stage is young Ayano, young Kiro, young Kano, young Seto, Kenjiro, and Ayano, older Ayano. Like the teen version is the one who is singing. Right here. Yeah. I also think in this scene, I also would probably want to have the teen Ayano be on stage and still have young Kido, Kano, and Seto on stage to kind of show the couple year age difference between them, to show how at that age, Ayano just being 2 to 3 years older than them would be like taller than them. Okay, so now we're doing Tomei Answer. On stage and singing are Shintaro and Ayano. I really like the idea of these two kids meeting in middle school, these two kind of social outcasts, meeting together and how they're both dealing with grief, I think. For example, like Shintaro doesn't talk a lot about it, but his dad did drown. Like Shintaro lost his dad and, he was young when it happened, but like that's still something that's going to impact a kid. And I still think the similar thing with Ayano and how they kind of both recognize their status as like struggling to socially connect with their peers and how they're both kind of like on the same wavelength. And I love Tomei Answer. It's a great song. And it just shows their first meeting in middle school, and it's a duet between them. Next is Dead and Seek. On stage is Kenjiro. The person singing is Seiru. I think it's really cool. I like how I want to show how Seiru as a snake, as an evil snake, like preys on its victim's grief, and in order to perpetuate its existence. And I definitely do want to do some sort of musical representation of the grief that Kenjiro feels, and also the fact that like the snake only controls his body when he's asleep. I think that's super interesting. Yeah, I think that struggle between, that kind of his unacknowledgement of grief, which I think is more addressed in the books, and how that makes not addressing the grief in his own life makes him vulnerable to manipulation by the magic snake living in his head. Okay. Next song, UK Yesterday. This is almost all the song, but we're doing UK Yesterday. On stage is Kenjiro, Takane, Haruka, and I think I'm gonna have one or two city residents pretend to be classmates of them. And it's really Takane's song. She's singing. The show, I want the scene to open with Takane going to school, it already being like the day after they learned about the whole we have to build this booth. We got like 3 days, and she's already coming in complaining about how like, hey, I was up late last night trying to figure out building this video game. I can't believe our teacher did this to us, so they're kind of she's walking in kind of already into the action of the school festival episode. Then we got the whole video game battle at the school festival. This would be a pretty short scene. You just want to have the UK quartet meeting each other, and kind of the rocky introduction Shintaro and Takane have to each other. Then there's Remind Blue, which is really going to be Haruka's song. And it's on stage is Haruka, Takane, Ayano, Shintaro. Momo and Kano will be have brief little cameos in it, but it's really about Haruka singing, and it's about their friendship. It's like a friendship montage of all of them and them getting to know each other. And also, I want the song to kind of show in a way Haruka's kind of slowly realizing that he's not going to reach adulthood. But like this group of four kids are like friends, and it's so cute, and I want to show that. So let me answer part B. This is when Shintaro's starting to notice that some stuff's kind of going on with the Yano, but he doesn't really know what is going on. Also, I love the scene in the books in which Haruka like tells Shintaro, "I am going to die." And it's also notable that the fact that Haruka only tells Shintaro. I think that that shows that these two are incredibly close friends, and I really want that to be included. And I also want that to be like something that is included in the story because the music videos really show about like how Shintaro grew as a Yano, but Shintaro himself doesn't seem to acknowledge that three of his only friends died in one weekend. Like, no wonder this kid stopped going to school. I would. Um, and I also I know that Yano and Shotaro have this pretty famous fight on the bridge, and this is referenced in Lost Time Memory and Additional Memory. I kind of want this fight to be about a Yano trying to ask Shintaro was like maybe like a day or two after Haruka told Shintaro he's dying. Maybe Yano tries to be like, "Hey, what's wrong? I know something's wrong." And instead of acknowledging that, he says like the whole like, "Why don't you butt out, disappear, and never come back?" Like that. I kind of want maybe that to be a reason. I want to at least show that fight, especially because it's shown in Additional Memory about like this fight they had. And I want it to kind of be connected to the fact that like, thank you. PokeP's like, we got to do the bridge thing. Yes, we do. And I think a good reason for that could be Shintaro is holding on to the fact that Haruka just told him he's gonna die, and he didn't. And he told him don't tell anybody else. But Ayano and Haruka are also friends. I just think that would be a good reason as to why this whole fight would happen. Okay, and then we of course had the scene of, Haruka's health episode at school when she passes out and then Takane blames herself. And then she's like, Kenjiro, who's still like in normal, like he's not, Kenjiro like takes Haruka to the hospital, and he's not like possessed yet. He just takes him to the hospital and Kakene's crying and being like, I feel so guilty. I should have realized that he had passed out. And then Ayano's like, no, it's fine, sweetie. You care so much. Go to the hospital. Go tell him, that you care about him. She's like, I'm going to go do that. And Ayano's already in the school because Ayano knows her dad's gonna kill somebody. And then, so we got the scene, of course, in which, like, and so then I want to show, like, Ayano kind of, like, making the paper crane and leaving it at Shintaro's desk because she knows that her dad, because she found the forms that had, like, her dad's names of his plan to, like, kill them. So she tries to go confront her dad, but Kenjiro, like, between putting Haruka in the ambulance and then Kenjiro comes back. Now he's possessed by Seru, and then he kind of, I think what he does something to paralyze Takane, I don't know, and then he like kind of kills her. Well, like he paralyzes her and then kind of kills her and then puts her in a tube. But yeah, I want that scene to happen, but like quickly, kind of. And and I do want the UK part. I want the last thing of UK yesterday, in which Takane's running towards, running out of the school. It's like running towards the school exit, trying to be like, I can get on like a bike. I can make it to the hospital. Being like, I do care about you, Haruka. I gotta try. And then she's immediately face plants because Kenjiro just like paralyzed her. So we got Ayano's Theory of Happiness Part C. Ayano kills herself. Yeah, she sings the last part of Ayano's Theory of Happiness and she dies in front of Kano and Kenjiro, and it's very, very sad. I feel like I'm talking about this a bit too lightly. I just need to like kind of get through like all these scenes. So yeah, it sucks. Next song, Additional Memory, one of my favorite songs. I want to do the whole Additional Memory music video. I just want it to be a power ballad. It's just Ayano singing alone. I want her to voice that stress and grief at realizing she just killed herself and made everything worse. Because I want it to be a very stark contrast between Ayano's theory of happiness and this whole idea of everything will be better when I'm gone. Her falling and realizing, oh shit. Because truly, that's actually really what it's like. So I do remember the day Additional Memory came out when I was in high school. I was leaving my high school chemistry class, and I listened to the song. And I was like, oh my god, killing herself was a terrible idea. you know, yeah, so, but yeah, I want it to be this like, oh my god, I should not have killed myself. Ah! And then we transition into, we're still in the days now. That's now we're still in the days, and we transfer into headphone actor. Um, and headphone actor. This is the second time the audience really gets to see the days. And I want to be Takane running around. I want it to be the city residents. And I also want Takane to at some point run past young Kano, Hibiya, Hiyori, young Momo. And like, because the days kind of exist in this weird thing in which if you are in the days, you can kind of see anybody who has also been in the days, even if they're not in the days anymore. It's like a pocket dimension. And I want to explore that. I want Takane to kind of just run past a bunch of people, and all these other characters are kind of making cameos for us to kind of figure out, oh, time is weird here. Yeah. Also, the music transition from IL Theory Happiness to Additional Memory is going to go so hard. But yeah, I want a headphone actor. Yeah. And then we're still in the days here, and then we're now showing Haruka in the days and him being tied to like connected in this incredibly like well-drawn scene in the novels is about like him being trapped in the bed and him being offered a snake, and he's like, I don't want that body, and then the snake's like, okay, I'll leave without you then, and Haruka's like, huh? We all know how Konoha gets created, but yeah. And then this is the last scene of Act 1. We have Tomoe answer part C. It is just Shintaro singing alone. It's just him singing. And on stage, what we're going to see is really like Shintaro coming into class, realizing Ayano is dead. Like, as he kind of realizes that like there are other students who have also like he realizes he loses all like his friends are dead. And then we also have Kido, Kano, and Seto move out of the house. Since I assume that in this point it'd be Kano who would be like to Kido and Seto, I don't want to live at home anymore. I don't want to live at home anymore. Can we get an apartment? And Kenjiro, who's still in normal form, is like, okay, sure. My teen children are grieving. I understand if they don't want to live in this house anymore. I will pay for them to have an apartment and to get groceries. So then Kido, Kano, and Seto all move into the 107 apartment. Kano not telling them it's because their dad wants to kill them, of course, because nobody knows that. And then as they move into this 107 apartment, I want them to go and kind of pick up Mary, and that's the end of Act 1. Act 2, I'm gonna take a sip of my tea for a second here. You guys are giving some great comments in the chat. I'm really glad. Hopefully, they should all still be saved by YouTube, because these are some really good things that I'm definitely taking into consideration. But we're gonna go to Act 2, scene breakdown. These are all the songs we're gonna include in Act 2 of the musical. Excuse me. We open up. Beginning of Act 2. It is a 2-year time skip. We are going on NA's cybernetic journey. I'm not sure if we're going to have her sing this or just like play the music, but I want to show NA's like transformation to becoming NA, and I also want to show Konoha begin living with Kenjiro at the Tateyama's family. Because I don't know if you remember from the anime, but Kenjiro just like, what is it? Like Kenjiro like introduces Konoha to Hiyori and Hibiya as like his foster son. I like the idea that Konoha, like that Seiru possessing Kenjiro's body, takes Konoha out of Konoha out of his tube, and then like takes him to his house, depossesses Kenjiro's body. Kenjiro like wakes up and it's like, there's a lost teen at my door. I have to take him in. Because like Kenjiro is an inherently like caring person. He's like, oh my god, there's a random teen who doesn't know what's going on. I'll adopt this child, I think that that's really cool. And that's how Konoha starts living with Kenjiro. Then, second scene of Act 2. Jinzo enemy. On stage, NA and Shintaro's. NA is singing. We all know Jinzo enemy. Don't know what that little alert was. Yeah. And then we were doing Kisaragi Attention. I actually really, really want there to be a really cool transition between Jinzo Enemy and Kisaragi Attention. I want Momo to come on stage in the idol outfit with her pen light and be like, "Hey everybody, I'm Momo." And then some of us in the audience will already have the orange pen lights. So we'll be like, "Oh my god." And then she's like, "Hey everybody. Oh my god, isn't my brother like kind of like depressing? Not me though. I'm fine." As she like cringes. And then I somehow really, really want to do one of those like dresses that can rips in half, like, you know, like the quick change dresses. I really want to do that for Momo. I want her to be able to quite literally just tear off the dress. I don't know. I just really want that to be a really jarring like tone change between like a super depressing song to Momo being like, "Ah, get a load of that guy." You know, I don't know. I love Momo. She's so great, and Kisaragi Attention is just such a fun song. And Momo, I do, you know, I want Momo to be like running around. The city residents are like chasing her, and she's like da 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 da. Like, it's great. It's gonna be great. Then Momo is gonna meet the Mekakushidan. She's gonna meet them. They're gonna have their whole scene, you know. They're gonna meet Mary at the apartment. It's gonna be cool, you know, it'll be kind of funny, it'll be cringy. I don't know if we can do the glasses spill thing, because that would get the costumes wet, but yeah, I want Kido, Kano, Momo, Seto, and Mary to all meet each other. It'll be kind of fun, you know, kind of funny. And then we're going to the mall terrorist incident. This will only be one song. This will only be Blindfold Code. I really want it to be almost only Kido singing. I'm so sorry. I think when I just first got into like the project and I started every like the anime and the books and the manga at the same time, I reread the terrorist acts incident so many times that I'm like, I just want this to be as quick as possible. Really sorry if any of you guys really like that episode, but I just kind of want to go through it. But yeah, I think Blindfold Code is going to be a really cool song. Kido's going to really be like the main singer. It's going to be cool. Next one, we got introducing Hibiya and Hiyori and their trip to the city. I love Hiyori. She's so like spunky. I guess I don't know. I love her. She doesn't give a crap. She's really confident. It says exactly what she means. Ideal personality for a 12-year-old. So we are introduced to the two of them. Hiyori's like, "Yeah, I'm staying with like my uncle slash cousin. I don't know." Oh, that was actually another thing I actually did want to mention. In the last scene of Act 1, I do want Hiyori to be there standing in the background when they do have Ayano's funeral. Because I want to kind of introduce Hiyori on stage at that point, you know, as her being like, you know, someone who's already related to the Tatiyamas. And so Hiyori's like, "Yeah, I'm going to stay with like my uncle or something. Like, you know, you're a random guy. Do you want to come with? You know, I need somebody to come with me. I'm going to be bored." And Kibi's like, "Sure, I'll do." And then I do want him to have his little plush dolls that he's made in Stone of Hiyori. I think that's so cute. I think that the fact that he's 12 years old, he made little dolls of her and he wants to give one to her. I think that's the cutest thing. We have to keep that in the musical. And so Hiyori and Hibiya are introduced. Kenjiro's like, "Hey Hiyori, hey Hibiya, welcome to the city, be safe. I'm gonna have Konoha, my foster son, who's a teenager, watch you two. Please don't run away from him. Please stay. I need to have at least an older teen watch two 12-year-olds. And then they immediately ditch him. No, what's the thing is like Hiyori thinks that Konoha's kind of cute, but then she ditches him because she wants to try and find Momo. You know, and I do want the song My Funny Weekend as they're just kind of running around city, two 12-year-olds being given a tiny bit of freedom. They're like, "What?" And I do want Hibi and Hiyori to actually do find Momo and take like a little selfie with her. And then I want them to actually go. Basically, then Konoha's kind of like trailing behind them, but he kind of gets lost because they kind of purposely try to confuse him to get him off to stop following them because they're like, "We're not little kids. We don't need someone to follow us." You know, and then what I do actually want is I want Hibiya and Hiyori, I want the two of them to go specifically to the cemetery. I want Hiyori to be somebody who intentionally goes to put, let's say, like flowers on Ayano and Ayaka's gravestones because, you know, it is Obon. Like, it is the holiday celebrating, like, the passing of, like, loved ones, you know? So I want her to actually, and then I want her to find Kano at the cemetery. And I think they did have a conversation in the book series in which Hiyori's like, "How do you know Ayaka?" And he's like, "Oh, of course I know Ayaka. How do I like? I know Ayaka. Ayaka had a major like role in my life. She was like my mom." Hiyori's like, "Oh, okay." And then as they're walking away from the cemetery, I then want it to be then that Kano turns into his cat form and tricks Hiyori into getting hit by the bus, not getting hit by the truck. And then we get to Kagerou Days. I really, really want this to be kind of Hibiya leading the song, but I really want it to be a huge snake chorus. I am totally inspired by the 50-person Nico Nico chorus on YouTube. I want it to be this haunting million-person chanting choir song. It's going to be so cool. I want it to be like just as hard. Like, I don't really know how we're going to do the truck thing. I think we might just do like a trap door drop, if that makes sense, for Hiyori, and like some lights and flashing strobe lights, and then she'll drop through the floor to maybe represent the truck. But I think it's going to be such a cool piece. Next one, Konoha State of the World. I want it to be Konoha. I don't really want to show Hibiya and Hiyori on stage again for this song, because I think they're going to need to do a costume change, between this, and also just give the two actors some like room to breathe. But I want it to really be about Konoha State in the World, and the Dan meets Konoha, because Konoha is still trying to look for Hibiya and Hiyori, and how, since Konoha is a snake, he can kind of see into the days, but he's not really sure what he's looking at. And then when he sees, Mary and Momo and Kiro and Seto and Ene and Shintaro, his brain kind of starts going haywire, because he's a snake, and he's recognizing that those people also hold snakes, but he's not really sure what he's looking at or processing. So I want it to really be Konoha singing, and then the snake chorus is kind of singing along. I just think that'd be a cool. I said, so the whole song is a vision he is having, and that allows him to see the people trapped within the days. And that's really cool. So Konoha and the group, they do actually find Hibiya walking around confused out of it. And Kiro, Seto, Mary, Shintaro, Konoha, Momo, and Hibiya are on stage. Basically, at this point, the gang splits off. Kiro, Shintaro, Konoha, Seto, and Mary go to research the days. I think they go back to Mary's house. Haven't decided on that. But basically, it's Momo's doing moon viewing recital with Hibiya, trying to cheer him up. This is just a really cool panel from the Children's Record Reload music video. Such a cool music video. I love how it shows all these different moments from the books and the manga. And basically with Kano, we're doing Yobanashi Deceive. The way I wanted to kind of do it is that after the terrorist incident and they all leave to hang out, I actually want it to be then. It to be after the blindfold code terrorist accident. I want it to be clear that Kano like separates from the group. He says he's got to go do something, and I think Kiro and Seto kind of understand that he's probably going to the graveyard to pay his respects, and they're just like, okay, they don't have to say it, they just kind of know. And then but when they were researching the days, Kano's not here, and after Konoha State of the World, that is when NA Trant uses the internet to somehow get to Kano's phone, because she just doesn't want to be in the situation near Konoha. She creeps him out. NA is creeped out by Konoha for obvious reasons, so she goes to Kano's phone, and then Kano says, hey, I know you. You are one of my sister's best friends. I have been basically forced to work with Seiru for the past 2 years. I know where your body is, and I can help you get your body back. And then they're doing the whole walk through the city. Yobanashi Deceive. It's going to be a really cool dance number. There will be a tap dancing solo. The different snake chorus will be there. They will perform a dance, but the snakes will be wearing these like white masks that are from Yobanashi Deceive. And it's going to be really cool. Kano will be singing, the snake chorus will sing a little bit, and I do want young Kiro, young Seto, and young Kano to all make cameos within the song, similar to how they do in the music video. But Yobanashi Deceive is going to be such a cool dance number. I swear. Next song, Imaginary Reload. It's the battle song. There's their plan to battle Seiru to somehow get Hiyori back. The Dan is on stage, and Mary's the one singing. It's really about her like trying to get like her courage back. And yeah, it's a cool song. I'm not sure how much of it we would perform, but I want that to be the music for that. And then through Imaginary Reload, we also get to meet Takane again in her original body. And we also have Kano, Kiro, and Seto all have to have an honest conversation about how Kano has been basically a hostage to work for the evil snake via their dad for the past 2 years. And we want Kano to start being honest with everyone. Next, Outer Science. Everybody gets shot. everybody's on stage, Kenjiro, as well as the people singing are Seiru and the Snake Chorus. I was listening to Outer Science like 2 days ago and watching the music video, and I kind of forgot how good that piece of like as a music video and song is. It's so good. And then so Seiru removes himself from Kenjiro's body. Kenjiro, of course, drops dead. He then switches into Konoha's body, possesses Konoha, shoots a bunch of people, freaks Mary out. She opens the daze, because she opens the daze as a way to try and like stop this all from happening. Because that's what Seiru tries to do. He tries to put himself into situations that would torture Mary, so she resets time. Specifically in a situation in which Mary has all the snakes right now because Seiru shot everybody, but yeah, and now we're gonna get sent to the daze. Mary sends everybody to the daze. It is the reveal of Mary as possessing the queen snake and her full powers. We might include a little flashback of when Mary was a kid, and we show Azami giving her the queen snake. Now we are doing Shintaro meets Haruka in the daze. She talks to Haruka, and Haruka's like, please get us out of here. You have to end the days, And then he has lost time memory as his remembering snake powers get reactivated again, and he faces a Yano, and not just metaphorically, like Yaki, but he also then meets the actual Yano, and he's like, dude, we gotta get out of here. Like, I hate that you died. I cared about you so much. You gotta live. There's people who want you to live. And, this really big showing how much these two characters have grown, and how Ayano, through her power of being able to see and feel other people's emotions, recognizes how much she is loved and valued when she had started to doubt that herself. And Shintaro is somebody who is actively choosing to face his own problems and to be emotionally vulnerable. And Lost Time Memory is still such a great song, and we're gonna have that. Next, Shintaro sends his snake to Mary. The only song that kind of has lyrics that could kind of be similar to this is actually Red, from the Into the Days movie. But the lyrics to Red actually do fit pretty well. Such as, for example, something about we're seeing a character that the adults ignore. I think that that's really interesting, especially because having to do this, something that we don't really talk about, but by ending the days, the days has trapped Kito's sister, Kano's mother, Shintaro and Momo's dad. When they do end the days, they have effectively, as well as Ayaka and Kenjiro now, all of the kids' adults are in the days, and if they do end the days, they will be their dead bodies will get returned to the earth, but they'll be truly and truly gone. With these relatives in the days, they are dead but also kind of still alive. And I think that Red is talking about this color that the adults won't see is really about all these kids really choosing to accept the deaths of these family members. And I think that's really, really interesting. And Mary decides to not reset time to send the Dan back to the real world. I also kind of want the show to kind of emphasize the fact that when Mary is going to send everybody back to the real world, I kind of want them to still wake up in the real world with the injuries they got from being shot. They're all still going to live because they still got their snakes, but they all did get shot, and I kind of want that to be a big Shintaro and Mary have to actually face the fact that if they go back to the real world, they will be losing their parents. Shintaro's dad and Mary, her mom, they might not be all okay if they go back to the real world, but it is worth it. And this real kind of showing Shintaro and Mary's arcs. And then we have Days, Days, one of my favorite songs. I said 5 different favorite songs. I'm sorry. Basically, I want this to be the ending scene of the anime in which Konoha wishes for Seiru to become Hiyori's snake. Konoha returns to Haruka's body to become his snakes. Effectively, Konoha sacrifices himself to give Haruka new life. Mary and Azami choose together to end the days. And the cast all get to say goodbye to their loved ones and their parents, recognizing that they have passed and they have gone. These people did love them, but they're going to say goodbye. Next scene. It's fireworks at the summer's end. The books are the only piece of KagePro media that talk about how unhealthily codependent Seto and Mary are of each other. And I want them to have a talk about that. I want them to have a talk about the fact that these two people are unhealthily codependent and how codependent relationships are super common in adolescence, but they cannot like last. They're just not good for either one of them. Mary's gonna have a naturally long life. Seto's gonna live his normal life. And then I do want the two to still be together romantically, but they have to have a talk about the fact that these two can be physically apart from each other and still be okay. And I want this scene to really be basically all the characters are still in the hospital. We don't show them in the hospital. But Seto is pushing. Mary said, who's not injured, Mary says, I want to go see the fireworks. And Seto, who is in no way medically ready to really go outside, says, sure, Mary, I'll do it. And then he collapses and they have to have an honest talk with each other about not being codependent. And then the fireworks go off, and Fireworks in the Summer Sun is such a beautiful song. And then, Summertide Record. Ayano and Hiyori are both alive. This is the only good ending. We sing the ending song. We all sing. And then we play the song Days in the background as the cast does bows. Woo! I did it! 5 minutes left. Thank you so much for listening to me and my draft for the musical. I'm going to look at the chat now. Please submit any questions. Contact me via the email if you're interested or you have any opinions or comments or any additional ideas. Send in your contact info via the interest Google form to join the project. Thank you so much. I'm going to look at the comments in chat now. Woo! Yeah, Pixel SAR. It was so funny though, because I still remember when I was reading the last book, the Kagerou Project, which I kind of skimmed through a little bit. I was like, whoa, when did Seto get so obsessive? And it's like, oh, I think he was the entire time. I think throughout this entire show, him and Mary have been still super, super codependent since they were both traumatized kids. And but also, it's also we've been through high school, so many different codependent relationships, and you're like, okay, but and they do end up breaking. Codependent relationships are so common in adolescence, and when you're somebody who has friends who are in that, you're just like, this is not going to work, and it doesn't. But I'm going to read all the comments. Ooh, a Flash of Blue when Annie speaks, that is a good idea. Having additional ensemble cast to cover the bandits as well as the terrorist members. We're not doing the narrated parts of the album. Arrange in overlapping melodies, some to help clearing some of the songs. Yes, I am trying. That's why I'm looking at the musical composer. We're not going to be. I do want the story to be carried over. And also Marina Moraes. Yes, this is incredibly dense. Maybe it could be 2 plays. I'm not sure at this point. And could be between Honest Theory, Happiness, and Shonen Brave. Yeah, that's what I think I did. Honest Theory of Happiness. I guess maybe Ginger Rain between A Yana's Theory of Happiness and Shonen Brave could be a good way to see them before we see Mary Greaves. That could be it. Yeah, the narrator chest could do that. Bridge fight scene. Oh yeah. Oh, Takane faints out of her illness and then Kenjiro finds her lying down. Oh, that's interesting. Also, I don't know whoever the falling down for Poke P, you talked about the falling down thing in the Bungo Stray Dogs musical adaptation. Please send me a video of that so I can understand what you're talking about. Also, the musical transition from my Honest Theory Happiness to Additional Memory will go so hard. Pixel STR. Yep, finding her finding Haruka at the end. Someone said R.I.P. Cola. It's funny. Also, I'm sorry we cannot do Shiso World. It's such a good song, but it's just we're not going to be able to put it in. I'm really sorry. And yes, I do want Momo to talk to the audience. I think that'd be I don't know, that's very her. Fourth wall breaking. Yeah, I do want it to be a fourth wall breaking idol show. My Funny Weekend. Oh yes. Oh, I do also love when High School Story 2200 with having the characters run through the seats during the chase scenes. Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's one of my favorite aspects of high school theater when they're have to get in the audience. That's really fun. We're definitely gonna do that in the show. Wait, is that what Hibiya made the dolls for? Okay, that's a bit creepy, recording the voice. I just kind of thought it was Cute. Okay, that's a little bit weird. We'll just not have him do that. We'll just have him be somebody who's into making dolls. Um, no, but Pixel STR, no, you're so true though. My amnesiac son I don't actually know can watch you. Kids get proceed to get hit by a truck. But like it is true. I know that Kenjiro at this point has known Konoha for at least a year, but it is so true though. Kenjiro is very much the cool dad, cool parentheses. Kenjiro should not have done that. Like, I understand why, because he had to go, like, still meet Momo at school because Kenjiro anticipated that Momo would forget it's a Saturday. He's like, I should probably go to school just in case Momo stops by. But, like, yeah, like, it's very Kenjiro, very, I'm a cool dad. It's like, maybe you have some issues we need to address. Ooh, the cat, you say a cat puppet would actually be really good. That would actually be really, really cool. Lights fade out, pixel STR, and the silhouette of cat appears in the lights. Also, some of these recommendations and different ideas, please put them in an email and send them to the email. Oh yes, Kano should be speaking to the audience during Yobanashi. That would be very good. Maybe Shiso World could fit in during researching the days. No, maybe. I don't know. Yes, the Kano and Seto brother moment will happen. It's so good. Days as an opening act for part 2, play 2. That is possible. I was considering using Days as the opening song for act 2. I want to keep that bit from the beginning where we see, yes, I do really think the seeing Mary rewind time is very important, but I do want to show that in the first scene of the show instead of act 2. I want to show Mary rewinding time as the first scene of act 1. Yeah, codependency addressed. This like yay. Will I be posting updates? Out of all the characters, who is your favorite? Who is the feel most fleshed out? I think in my heart it's Ayano. I think it is Ayana. I think one of the most fleshed out characters would probably be actually Takane. I think Takane and Haruka are pretty fleshed out characters. I think I just remember them from the books more. I really think you kind of got a sense of who Haruka and who Takane were as people from the books. But I think Ayano would be my favorite character, but like the most fleshed out would be Takane and Haruka. Lost Day Hour wasn't included. I was actually considering using Lost Day Hour as instead of Remind Blue, but Lost Day Hour has too many things, too many references to characters being adults and having already Lost Day Hour is a song about adults reminiscing about their childhood. Because I re-listened to it and reread the lyrics and I was like, oh, because I was going to originally use it as Haruka's song, but then I was like, oh no, it actually doesn't really work. But then Remind Blue does work more for Haruka. Yeah. Sake of retaining eyes, Ayano manga line who turns herself into a snake as a narrator. Yes, that was for Act 1, Scene 1, is having the snake of retaining eye like as that narrator and the first scene of the show. What are the roles I'm looking for? Are general production assistant, communication, lead. I'm also looking for like outreach and publicity liaison. I will be reaching out to the applicants maybe in 2 weeks, beginning of September. I think I'm starting a new job soon, so I guess let's say beginning of September. I might also create a Discord group for us or something like that. So we can all keep in contact. And yes, a lot of the absent songs could definitely be included as scene transition motifs. I definitely want that to happen. And like some of the songs we don't have to like sing, but like I do want that musical motif to be in there. But yeah, so definitely like Marina Moraes, Pixel, STR, and PokeP, like all your comments, definitely please still send in the emails. And yes, you can participate from anywhere in the world, especially as we are for the next at least 2 years, we're gonna still be in pre-production process in doing things that we don't actually all have to be physically in person for. And yeah, thank you so much. It is 5:04. I'm so happy I got to do this. I probably won't be active in the Discord until later today. I'm actually having some relatives visit. Today that was scheduled like way in advance. I was like, "What? We're having relatives visit today? Like my project." She's like, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out." But like, yeah, so you probably won't see me on Discord until, later in the evening. I'm definitely still gonna watch like, the Days Reanimate. Like I'm gonna watch that. I might not be able to make it to the premiere, but I'll still definitely watch it afterwards. I'll probably be watching what I missed of the convention today, tomorrow. I'm just really happy I actually got to do this. I'm going to be a bit sentimental here, but this is really my first time doing a panel, as well as my first time actually, expressing my performing arts like desires and ambitions and projects to an audience. I'm someone who's always done performing arts in theater, but really recreationally, and not really somebody who's ever like, at least not in many, many years, have actually pitched a creative project idea. And I'm actually, through working with others, will be able to accomplish these goals, hopefully, or at least make something. I really appreciate you all being with me today, and happy August 15th. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm going to stop the stream, but hopefully it will save and hopefully everything will save and be recorded, and hopefully I'll still be able to view all your chats later. But thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Happy KagePro Day, and I'm so glad I got to do this for the final DazeCon. Thank you. Bye.